Ma'am, the budget lot is 2 blocks down. Most people who come in dressed like that start over there. The laughter came fast, casual, comfortable. The kind of laughter that only appears when people think there will be no consequences. On a bright Saturday morning in Dallas, Texas, the showroom floor of Brooks Automotive looked exactly the way success was supposed to look. Polished trucks gleamed beneath hanging lights. New SUVs sat in perfect rows. Salespeople moved from customer to customer with practiced smiles. And right in the middle of it all stood Monica Brooks, wearing faded jeans, a black hoodie, and white sneakers that looked like they had seen better days. Before we continue, where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. And if you believe in dignity and justice, hit like and subscribe. These stories spark change, and we're glad you're here. Now, back to Monica Brooks. Monica didn't react to the comment. She simply glanced toward the salesman who had delivered it. Ethan Walker, 34, confident, clean-cut, and completely unaware of who was standing in front of him. He leaned against a silver pickup truck worth nearly $80,000 and smirked as if he had already figured her out. "I'm interested in this model," Monica said calmly. Ethan looked her up and down. "This one?" he asked. "Yeah, this isn't exactly an entry-level vehicle." A nearby customer chuckled. Another salesperson glanced over and smiled. Monica nodded once. "I know exactly what it is." Ethan folded his arms. "Then you know financing starts with credit approval." The air shifted slightly. Not enough for most people to notice, but enough. Monica had heard that tone before. Not the words. The assumption behind them. The assumption that some people belonged in places like this and others did not. She walked slowly around the truck, studying the vehicle while Ethan continued talking. "If you're looking for something affordable, we've got used inventory across town." Monica ran a hand along the side mirror. "Interesting. What's interesting?" Ethan asked. "How quickly you decided what I can afford." For a second, Ethan's smile faded. Then it returned. "I'm just trying to save everybody time." Across the showroom, a young trainee named Olivia Parker noticed the exchange. She had only been working there for 3 months, but something about the conversation felt wrong. Monica wasn't arguing. She wasn't defensive. If anything, she seemed strangely calm. Too calm. Like someone collecting information instead of shopping for a vehicle. Ethan stepped closer. "Look, no offense, but serious buyers usually come prepared." Monica turned toward him. "Prepared for what?" "To actually buy." More laughter. Quiet this time. Monica looked around the showroom. Every smile. Every glance. Every judgment. Then she looked back at Ethan. "And what exactly does a serious buyer look like?" The question landed harder than he expected. Ethan opened his mouth, but hesitated. For the first time, the confidence cracked. Just a little. Not enough to stop him. Not enough to save him. Somewhere inside the dealership, hidden behind polished walls and record sales numbers, a much bigger problem was beginning to reveal itself. And Monica Brooks had come here specifically to find it. Olivia Parker could not explain why the exchange bothered her so much. Salespeople dismissed customers every day. Some were not serious buyers. Some were simply browsing. That was normal. What was not normal was the way Monica Brooks carried herself. Even after the comments, even after the laughter, she looked completely unshaken. She moved through the showroom with the confidence of someone who had already seen every corner of the building. While Ethan Walker returned to his station, Monica stopped beside a luxury sport utility vehicle and quietly studied the window sticker. Her eyes moved across the specifications without hesitation. Engine size, towing capacity, manufacturer incentives, dealer margins. She seemed to know exactly what she was looking at. Across the showroom, Olivia watched as Monica asked another salesperson a detailed question about inventory allocation. The salesperson stumbled through an answer. Monica politely thanked him and moved on. A few minutes later, she asked someone else about customer retention numbers. The employee laughed awkwardly and changed the subject. That was when Olivia noticed something strange. Monica was not asking questions like a customer. She was asking questions like someone evaluating performance. Near the front desk, Ethan had already started entertaining a group of customers. "You would not believe the people who walk in here sometimes," he joked. A few people laughed along with him. Ethan glanced toward Monica. Everybody wants to look at the expensive models. Very few can actually afford them. The comment drifted through the air. Monica heard it. So did Olivia. Monica simply continued walking. The reaction seemed to frustrate Ethan more than if she had argued. At the center of the showroom stood a wall-sized display highlighting dealership achievements, awards, sales records, community recognition. Monica stopped in front of it for several seconds. Her expression remained unreadable. 3 months earlier, those achievements had meant something very different. Customer complaints had begun arriving at corporate headquarters at an alarming rate. Some described poor service. Others described disrespect. A pattern emerged that was impossible to ignore. Certain customers consistently reported being dismissed before conversations even started. Several reviews specifically mentioned feeling judged based on appearance. Monica had spent weeks reading every complaint personally. Numbers told one story. People told another. That was why she was here. No executive team. No advance notice. No expensive suit. Just observation. The truth looked different when employees thought nobody important was watching. A tall man in a gray suit suddenly approached Monica. His name tag identified him as Greg Sullivan, showroom manager. Unlike Ethan, Greg did not laugh. His smile was professional. Almost. "Good morning," he said. "I understand you have been looking at several vehicles." Monica nodded. "I have. Can I help you find something within your budget?" The question sounded polite. The implication did not. Monica looked directly at him. "What makes you think you know my budget?" Greg's smile tightened. Around them, conversations seemed to slow. Salespeople listened without appearing to listen. Customers glanced over their shoulders. The atmosphere inside the showroom felt different now. Charged. Watchful. Greg folded his hands. "Experience," he replied. "You learn to recognize serious buyers." Monica held his gaze for several seconds. Then she asked a question that made Olivia stop breathing for a moment. "And what happens when your judgment is wrong?" For the first time all morning, Greg did not have an answer. The silence that followed Greg Sullivan's hesitation seemed to stretch across the entire showroom. Customers continued browsing, but their attention kept drifting back toward the conversation. Monica Brooks stood calmly beside the luxury sport utility vehicle, waiting. Greg finally cleared his throat. "I do not make mistakes often," he said. Monica nodded slightly. "That was not my question." Greg's jaw tightened. Ethan Walker noticed the exchange and quickly walked over. "Everything okay here?" he asked. Greg kept his eyes on Monica. "We are trying to determine whether this customer is serious about purchasing a vehicle." Monica looked from one man to the other. Interesting choice of words. Ethan folded his arms. "There is nothing wrong with qualifying buyers." "Of course not," Monica replied. "The question is how you qualify them." Neither man answered. Across the showroom, Olivia Parker found herself listening more closely than she intended. Something about Monica's questions exposed weaknesses that nobody usually talked about. Most customers accepted whatever explanation they were given. Monica challenged every assumption without raising her voice. Ethan gestured toward a row of vehicles near the back wall. "Perhaps we should focus on models that make more sense." Monica followed his gesture. "What makes those make more sense?" Ethan laughed softly. "You know exactly what I mean." Several nearby salespeople exchanged glances. One of them smiled. Another quietly shook his head. Monica noticed both reactions. Every expression mattered. Every choice mattered. "No," Monica said calmly. "I would like you to explain it." Ethan shifted uncomfortably. Greg stepped in before he could respond. "Ma'am, we are simply trying to help." Monica looked around the showroom floor. Bright banners advertised customer satisfaction. Large signs promised respect, trust, and transparency. The words hung overhead like decorations nobody bothered to read anymore. "Help," Monica repeated. "Is that what this is?" Greg forced another smile. "We have a business to run." Monica nodded. "Exactly." For a brief moment, Olivia thought she saw something change in Monica's eyes. Not anger, not frustration, recognition, as if she had just confirmed something she had suspected before walking through the front door. A customer standing nearby suddenly spoke up. "She has been asking good questions." The room grew quieter. Ethan glanced toward the man. "Sir, we have this under control." "Seems like she is the only one asking about the business," the customer replied. Monica thanked him with a small nod. Greg immediately tried to redirect the conversation. "If you are interested in purchasing today, we can discuss financing." Monica smiled faintly. "What if I am interested in something else?" "Like what?" Greg asked. Monica looked across the showroom floor. At the sales desks, the manager's offices, the employees who were pretending not to watch. "Culture," she said. The word landed heavily. Nobody spoke for several seconds. Olivia felt a chill run through her arms. Culture was not a word customers used when shopping for vehicles. It was a word executives used during meetings. It was a word found in performance reviews and leadership conferences. Ethan laughed awkwardly. You are overthinking this. Monica turned toward him. Am I? Before Ethan could answer, a receptionist approached Greg holding a tablet. Another customer complaint just came through the website, she whispered. Greg looked annoyed. Handle it later. Monica heard every word. The receptionist walked away. Greg exhaled sharply. Ethan rolled his eyes. And for the first time that morning, Monica saw something much more valuable than disrespect. She saw a pattern. Patterns were harder to dismiss than individual incidents. One rude comment could be explained away. One misunderstanding could be blamed on a bad day. But patterns told the truth people worked hardest to hide. Monica stood quietly near the reception area while Greg Sullivan returned to his office and Ethan Walker resumed talking with customers. Neither man seemed concerned about the complaint that had just arrived through the dealership website. If anything, they seemed annoyed that it existed at all. Olivia Parker watched from a distance. The longer she observed Monica, the more questions she had. Customers usually focused on vehicles, pricing, monthly payments, trade-in values. Monica seemed interested in something entirely different. She paid attention to people. She listened to conversations that others ignored. She noticed reactions. She studied behavior. It felt less like shopping and more like an investigation. Near one of the sales desks, a middle-aged black couple sat waiting for assistance. They had been there nearly 20 minutes. Meanwhile, a younger white customer who had arrived later was already being shown vehicles outside. Monica noticed it immediately. So did Olivia. The couple exchanged polite smiles and remained patient. Eventually, the husband approached a salesperson and asked if someone could help them. The salesperson glanced toward Ethan. Ethan shrugged. Tell them we are backed up. The man nodded and returned to his desk. Yet moments later, another customer was greeted almost instantly. Monica watched every second of it. The dealership floor looked busy, but now the rhythm felt different. Certain customers seemed welcomed. Others seemed tolerated. The distinction was subtle enough to deny and obvious enough to see once it appeared. Olivia felt uncomfortable, not because she had never noticed it before, but because she suddenly realized she had. Small moments, strange decisions, customers who left frustrated, complaints that disappeared, comments brushed aside as misunderstandings. A memory surfaced in her mind. 2 weeks earlier, a woman had left upset after claiming nobody would let her test drive a vehicle. Greg had dismissed the complaint within minutes. At the time, Olivia accepted the explanation. Now she was not so sure. Monica slowly approached the waiting couple. How long have you been here? She asked. Politely. Almost half an hour. The husband replied with a tired smile. Maybe they are busy. Monica glanced across the showroom. 3 salespeople were standing together laughing near the coffee station. Busy was not the word she would have chosen. Before she could respond, Ethan walked over. Is there a problem here? His tone carried the same edge as before. Monica looked at him calmly. I was asking a question. Ethan forced a smile. Our customers are taken care of. The husband looked down at the paperwork in front of him. His wife remained silent. The air seemed heavier now. Ethan turned toward the couple. Someone will be with you eventually. Then he walked away. Monica watched him leave. Olivia watched Monica. And for the first time all morning, Olivia made a decision. She quietly stepped away from her station and approached Monica. Lowering her voice, she said, You are not imagining this. Monica turned toward her. Olivia glanced around to make sure nobody was listening. Some of us have seen things, she said carefully. We just never thought anyone would do anything about them. Monica studied her face for a moment. Then she gave the smallest nod. Across the showroom, Greg emerged from his office holding a tablet. His expression looked tense. Another complaint had just arrived. Then another. And for reasons he could not yet understand, the morning was beginning to slip out of his control. Greg Sullivan stared at the incoming complaints on his tablet as if the screen itself had betrayed him. 1 complaint could be ignored. 2 could be explained away. But several arriving within the same hour created a problem. His eyes moved across the messages. Delayed service. Dismissive treatment. Customers feeling unwelcome. The words looked uncomfortably familiar. Monica Brooks remained near the center of the showroom, calm as ever. Around her, the dealership continued operating, but the confidence that had filled the building earlier was beginning to crack. Employees whispered to one another. Customers noticed the tension. Even Ethan Walker seemed less certain than before. Olivia Parker stood nearby, watching everything unfold. She had crossed a line the moment she spoke to Monica. There was no taking it back now. Greg suddenly walked across the showroom floor and stopped directly in front of Monica. His smile was gone. "I think it is time to wrap this up," he said. Monica tilted her head slightly. "Wrap what up?" "Whatever this is." Greg gestured around the showroom. "You have spent nearly an hour here asking questions, distracting employees, and interfering with business." Several customers looked up. Conversation slowed. Monica folded her hands calmly. "I have asked questions." "That is true." Greg's voice hardened. "And now I am asking you to leave." The words landed heavily. Not because of their volume. Because of what they revealed. Ethan stepped closer. "You heard him." Monica looked from one man to the other. Neither seemed interested in how the situation appeared. They only wanted it gone. The waiting couple from earlier watched silently from their desk. Olivia felt her stomach tighten. Something important was happening. Something that could not be undone. Monica took a slow breath. The showroom lights reflected across polished vehicle surfaces. For a brief moment, another memory surfaced. She was 19 years old again, standing inside a dealership less than 10 miles from where she stood now. She remembered the salesman who barely looked at her. She remembered being told she was wasting everyone's time. She remembered sitting in an aging sedan afterward, staring through a rain-covered windshield while wondering why respect always seemed conditional. That day had hurt. Not because she could not buy the vehicle. She eventually did. What stayed with her was the lesson. Some people decided your value before you ever spoke. The memory faded. The present returned. Greg was still waiting. Ethan was still watching. The same assumptions. The same certainty. Just different faces. Monica looked around the showroom one more time. The employees. The customers. The signs promising integrity and trust. Then she returned her attention to Greg. "Are you sure you want me to leave?" she asked quietly. Greg answered immediately. "Absolutely." The confidence in his voice echoed across the room. Olivia closed her eyes. Briefly, she had a feeling she was witnessing the exact moment everything was about to change. And somewhere deep inside the dealership's corporate systems, a process that had been dormant for months was only minutes away from coming alive. Monica Brooks did not move. Greg Sullivan stood waiting for an argument that never came. That seemed to bother him more than resistance would have. Around the showroom, conversations had nearly stopped. Customers sensed that something unusual was unfolding. Employees exchanged uncertain glances. Ethan Walker remained close to Greg, eager to project confidence even as the atmosphere around him continued to change. Monica slowly reached into the pocket of her hoodie and pulled out her phone. The motion was simple, ordinary, yet several employees watched it with unexpected concern. Greg folded his arms. "Calling a ride?" he asked. A few nervous laughs followed. Monica ignored them. She tapped a number and raised the phone to her ear. The call connected almost immediately. "Good morning, Nia," Monica said calmly. Across the city, inside a corporate office tower, Nia Carter recognized the tone instantly. "I am here," she replied. Monica looked around the showroom one more time. "Begin audit protocol 7. Silence followed. Not inside the dealership. Inside the call. Then Nia answered. "Confirmed. Activating protocol 7 now." Monica ended the call and slipped the phone back into her pocket. Greg smirked. "That's supposed to impress somebody?" Ethan laughed. "Maybe she thinks corporate is going to save her." Neither man noticed Olivia Parker staring at Monica with growing realization. She had never heard of Protocol 7, but she knew one thing. Nobody used language like that unless they had authority. Real authority. Monica calmly walked toward a customer seating area and sat down. She crossed one leg over the other and waited. The action confused everyone. Greg expected a confrontation. Instead, Monica looked completely at peace. 5 minutes passed. Then something strange happened. A sales manager near the finance department frowned at his computer screen. He refreshed it twice. Then 3 times. "That is weird," he muttered. Another employee looked up from her workstation. "What?" "System access is lagging." Moments later, another voice called out from across the showroom. "I just got logged out." Greg turned toward the disturbance. "Restart it." More notifications appeared. Employees checked screens. Password prompts appeared unexpectedly. Internal dashboards began refreshing. Reports opened automatically. The comfortable rhythm of the dealership started unraveling thread by thread. Greg's phone vibrated, then vibrated again. He glanced down. Corporate notifications. Multiple notifications. His expression changed immediately. Ethan noticed. Everything okay? Greg did not answer. He opened the first message, then the second, then the third. Corporate compliance review initiated. Customer complaint audit activated. Management performance assessment in progress. The color drained from his face. Across the showroom, Monica remained seated. Calm, patient, watching. Olivia felt her pulse quicken. Whatever was happening had started the moment Monica made that phone call. Another manager hurried across the floor carrying a tablet. Greg, have you seen this? Greg grabbed the device. Historical complaints were appearing on screen. Closed cases. Dismissed reports. Customer reviews. Internal notes. Information that normally stayed buried was suddenly visible again. Ethan looked over Greg's shoulder. His confidence disappeared almost instantly. Why are those files open? He asked. Nobody answered. Customers noticed the growing panic among employees. Whispered conversations spread through the showroom. Monica simply sat there, composed and silent, while the dealership slowly began exposing itself. And for the first time that morning, Greg Sullivan realized he might not be the one in control of this situation after all. The mood inside the dealership had changed so completely that even customers could feel it. Earlier that morning, the employees had moved with confidence. Now they moved with uncertainty. Screens refreshed. Notifications appeared. Managers whispered in corners. Questions traveled faster than answers. Monica Brooks remained seated near the customer area, watching quietly as the system continued doing exactly what it had been designed to do. Expose patterns. Expose decisions. Expose truth. Greg Sullivan stared at the latest compliance alert on his phone. The message was short but impossible to ignore. Additional records under review. Historical complaints reopened. Employee conduct assessment active. He looked across the showroom toward Monica. For the first time all day, he seemed unsure of himself. Ethan Walker noticed it immediately. What is going on? He asked. Greg lowered the phone. Nothing. The answer sounded weak even to him. Nearby, Olivia Parker watched everything unfold. The longer she observed, the more certain she became that Monica was connected to whatever was happening. Nobody else seemed calm. Monica looked completely at peace. A customer standing near the reception desk suddenly spoke up. Funny how everybody wanted to talk earlier. Several people turned toward him. He pointed toward Monica. Now nobody seems interested in asking her to leave. A few customers laughed quietly. Greg did not. Ethan did not. The waiting couple from earlier exchanged glances. The husband slowly stood up. I want to say something. The room grew quieter. We have been shopping for a vehicle for 3 weeks, he said. This is the third dealership where we felt invisible. Nobody interrupted him. Today we waited almost 30 minutes while other customers were helped first. Maybe that was coincidence. Maybe it was not. But I know how it felt. His wife nodded beside him. And we are tired of pretending those experiences do not happen. The words hung in the air. Heavy. Honest. Another customer joined in. Then another. Stories began emerging from different corners of the showroom. Delayed service. Dismissive attitudes. Assumptions. Small moments that seemed insignificant alone but looked very different together. Greg attempted to regain control. We value all customers equally. Nobody responded. The statement sounded less convincing than the silence that followed it. Olivia finally stepped forward. Her hands trembled slightly, but her voice remained steady. I have worked here for 3 months, she said. Every employee turned toward her, and I have seen complaints ignored. I have seen customers dismissed before conversations even started. I told myself there must be explanations. She looked directly at Greg. Now I am not so sure. Greg's face tightened. Olivia, be careful. No, she replied softly. I think being careful is how we got here. The room seemed to shift again. Employees who had stayed silent all morning suddenly looked uncomfortable. Customers listened. Monica listened. Nobody interrupted. Across the showroom floor, a notification chimed from another manager's computer. Then another. Then another. Compliance reports continued arriving. More records. More reviews. More questions. Greg stared at the growing flood of information and slowly realized something important. The problem was no longer Monica. The problem was everything the audit was finding. And standing at the center of it all Monica Brooks finally rose from her chair, her calm expression unchanged, while every eye in the dealership turned toward her. Monica Brooks stood slowly, and the movement alone seemed to quiet the entire showroom. Customers stopped talking. Employees stopped pretending to work. Even the constant sound of notifications from computers and tablets faded into the background. The dealership felt suspended in time. Greg Sullivan watched her carefully. Ethan Walker looked confused more than anything else. Both men knew something was happening. Neither understood how big it was. Monica glanced around the room one final time. She looked at the waiting customers. She looked at Olivia Parker. She looked at the employees who had spent the morning watching, judging, whispering, and laughing. Then she spoke. "You spent the last hour deciding who I was. Nobody moved. You decided what I could afford. You decided how important I was. You decided whether I deserved respect before you knew a single thing about me." Ethan opened his mouth to respond. Monica raised a hand slightly, not aggressively, simply enough to stop him. And somehow it worked. "The interesting thing about assumptions," she continued, "is that they reveal more about the person making them than the person receiving them." Greg stepped forward. "Who exactly are you?" The question echoed across the showroom. Monica looked directly at him. "That is the first good question anyone has asked me all morning." The room became perfectly still. Every eye remained fixed on her. Then her phone rang. Monica answered and activated speaker mode. Nia Carter's voice immediately filled the showroom. "Audit Protocol 7 complete. Corporate leadership is on standby. Access reviews have been finalized." Several employees exchanged nervous glances. Greg's expression changed instantly. Monica nodded. "Thank you, Nia." She ended the call and slipped the phone back into her pocket. Then she looked at Greg. "My name is Monica Brooks." Nobody reacted at first. The name seemed to hang in the air while people processed it. Then recognition began spreading across faces. A receptionist gasped softly. One manager looked down at a dealership brochure displaying a photograph he had apparently never studied carefully enough. Olivia's eyes widened. Ethan's face went pale. Greg stopped breathing for a moment. Monica continued. "I founded Brooks Automotive Group 22 years ago." Silence. "Every dealership in this building operates because I built the company behind it." More silence. "You thought I came here to buy a vehicle." She paused. "I came here to evaluate employees." The words landed like a door closing. Final. Unavoidable. Greg looked as though the floor had disappeared beneath him. Ethan stared at Monica in disbelief. Customers exchanged stunned looks. The waiting couple smiled for the first time all morning. Monica took a slow step forward. Her voice never rose. It did not need to. "You called me unqualified before speaking with me. You dismissed customers while claiming to value service. You ignored complaints because you assumed nobody important would notice." She looked directly at Greg. "You asked me to leave." Then she turned toward Ethan. "And you decided who belonged here based on appearances." Neither man could answer. Across the showroom, multiple employee tablets suddenly displayed new notifications. Access reviews complete. Personnel actions pending. Corporate directives issued. Monica saw the alerts appear one by one. So did everyone else. The audit was finished. The truth was documented. And within seconds, the consequences would begin. The notifications arrived almost simultaneously. Phones vibrated. Tablets refreshed. Computer screens updated across the dealership floor. The results of the audit were no longer pending. They were final. Greg Sullivan stared at his screen as if refusing to believe what he was seeing. Ethan Walker checked his device twice, then a third time. Neither reaction changed the outcome. Monica Brooks stood quietly in the center of the showroom while the system she had built did exactly what it was designed to do. Accountability moved faster than excuses. A corporate video call appeared on the main display screen near the sales offices. Senior leadership representatives joined one after another. Human resources, compliance, regional operations. Faces that most employees had only seen during annual meetings now looked directly into the dealership. The room fell silent. One executive spoke first. "The findings of Audit Protocol 7 have been reviewed and confirmed." No dramatic language. No raised voices. Just facts. Multiple customer complaints were improperly dismissed. Patterns of discriminatory treatment were documented. Service standards were repeatedly violated. Greg lowered his head. Ethan stared at the floor. Around them, employees listened carefully. Some looked nervous. Others looked relieved. The difference mattered. Monica listened without interruption. The executive continued. Effective immediately, management changes will be implemented at this location. More notifications appeared. Access permissions changed. Management credentials were revoked. New leadership assignments were scheduled. The process happened quietly, professionally, and publicly. Customers witnessed every moment. Olivia Parker watched in disbelief. Hours earlier, she had been questioning herself. Now she was watching an entire culture being examined in real time. The waiting couple exchanged smiles. Other customers nodded. Nobody seemed surprised anymore. The evidence had spoken for itself. Monica finally stepped forward. Every eye followed her. The showroom that had once dismissed her now listened to every word. Today was never about me, she said. Her voice remained calm. If this had only happened to me, it would have been a bad experience. The real problem is that it happened to many people. Nobody spoke. Some customers left this dealership believing they were not welcome. Some left believing they were invisible. Some left believing respect depended on appearance. She paused and looked around the room. That ends today. The words settled over the showroom like a new foundation being poured beneath an old building. Monica turned toward Olivia. Thank you for speaking when it would have been easier to stay silent. Olivia looked stunned. Monica smiled. Character is revealed when honesty becomes uncomfortable. Then she looked toward the customers who had shared their experiences. Thank you for telling the truth. Several nodded. One customer quietly applauded. Then another joined. Soon the applause spread throughout the showroom. Not loud, not theatrical, genuine. Monica waited until it faded. Then she delivered the final message. You did not lose opportunities because you made mistakes. Everyone makes mistakes. You lost opportunities because you stopped treating people with dignity. The room remained completely still. Respect is not something customers earn. It is something professionals give. She glanced once more across the dealership she had built from nothing more than determination and vision. I did not raise my voice today, she said. I raised the standard. And in that moment, the atmosphere changed completely. The fear was gone. The uncertainty was gone. What remained was clarity. The dealership would continue. New leaders would arrive. Customers would return. Trust would be rebuilt. But nobody present would ever forget the lesson they witnessed that morning. Because the most important thing Monica Brooks revealed was not that she owned the company. It was that the true measure of any business is how it treats people when it believes nobody important is watching.